Hello, everybody. A wonderful, warm welcome here to Wine with Jimmy. So many W's in that starting phrase. Delighted to have you on board and welcome to my educational channel, which is designed to follow syllabus of certain wine qualifications to help you understand them and enjoy them more. So you can go into your examinations, of course, full of confidence and, of course, smash it out of the park. If you have at any time during this video any comments or questions or concerns, please pop them in the comments section below this video. And there's two things more you must do. Click like because it helps, and click subscribe so you get our regular weekly updates. So we are here looking at the WSET Level 4 Diploma. This is the northeast of Italy section. Getting my tongue twisted there. But we are looking at Series 5 of 7. And this is getting into the nitty-gritty of Veneto, looking at Soave. So Series 5. And Series 5 is split into 4 parts. So there you go. Introduction, location to begin with a load of history. Plus, then we'll go into Part 2 on the grape variety Garganega. Appellations Part 3 with a wonderful Google Earth video, and Wine Business Part 4. Parts 2, 3, and 4 are only available to those of you who subscribe to my e-learning portal over at www.winewithjimmy.com. A very, very useful portal, if I do say so myself. Lots of things like flashcards, short written answer questions, and of course, exclusive video content. If you have any comments, questions, please pop them in the comments below this video or get in touch with social media that you see at the bottom of every slide. So let's rock and roll, talking a little bit about history of Soave. I've already gone through a bit of Venetian history, but now history specific to Soave. So Soave is this wonderful, gorgeous medieval village with a beautiful castello, a walled castle situated on top of the hill that overlooks its wonderful fortified village. It's a real iconic location. You must go and visit. I actually showed you a picture of the castello on the first slide, and you'll see more of it as we go through this presentation. Really wonderful. Now, Soave itself dates back to Romanic times and probably pre-Roman, but its white appasamentos, its dried grape white production, really started to gain notoriety and fame in the 6th century AD. Now, from the top of the hill, this castle that we've been talking about controlled the traffic of the Via Postumia, which is the road, the Roman road of this area, which linked northeast to northwest of Italy. It connected Genoa, the Ligurian port, to Aquileia, which is an important city, certainly very important during Roman times, one of the biggest cities in Roman times up in northeast Italy, not far from Trieste. But also it attached many other famous towns like Verona, Vicenza, Padua, Cremona, to quite a few others. So basically, Soave was strategically located, and of course, wine would really benefit from that as well as other commerce. Now, the fall of the Roman Empire was 476 AD, and the village found itself on the way of the Germanic tribes that swarmed the Italian peninsula at that time, certainly from Central and Eastern Europe. One of these German tribes, known as the Suebi or Svevi, depending on what dialect you use, took control of that former Roman watchtower, which is today the castle. And probably the name Soave comes from this tribal name, probably. Not 100% sure on that. Now, medieval to modern times here, the fortress as we see it today was built by the Scala family, and they were the ruling family of Verona in the 14th century. Soave then becomes one of Italy's first delimited wine zones, long before actually the formation of the DOC and then the DOCG system. But really, Soave's maybe infamous roots start in the 1960s and the 1970s when exports began to places like the USA and also the UK and Denmark. Apparently in Denmark, there were only exports of 1.5 litre bottles of very generic wine. And that was the only good thing to say about it. The size of the bottle was quite impressive, but the contents within it were quite poor. And unfortunately, Soave has certainly been affected by this large volume marketing. So you'll see lots of bag-in boxes today and larger formats of very inexpensive wines from Soave. And many people turn their nose up to Soave because that's all they think it is good for. But please let me tell you, Soave has some phenomenal producers, namely among them Pirapan, that have an impressive facility and, of course, exceptional cru level wines from the area. So the location of Soave, it is east of Verona, probably takes you something like 25 minutes to get from Verona to Soave. It's very, very close. All of the vineyards lie in an elevation between about 30 meters to about 400 meters above sea level. And that's when you go down towards the main road at low altitude. And then, of course, behind the Castello in the hills of where we find the Classico, for example. Now, here is a geological map of Soave. Now, you'll see that on the left-hand side, you've got color-coded charts. You've got sort of these pinky purples, which are calcareous alluvial soils. Then you've got non-calcareous alluvial soils, so probably more over alluvial loam and loess deposits. Then you've got this kind of orangey one, which is a mixture of different stratus of debris. Don't worry about that too much. Then you've got this reddish color one, which is actually limestone soil. And then you've got dark black, fittingly volcanic basalts, and that's very important. Now, what are we looking at? Well, down here, I've circled Soave, the town today, where we find the Castello, where we find the walled old town, and then the expansive town around it. Just across from that to the east is Monteforte, and that's quite an important place as well. But you'll notice that most of the volcanic rocks sit just to the northeast of Soave. Actually, it's going into the hills. So that's where we find most of the volcanic rocks. And we can kind of say that it's split into these two areas. So if you draw a line through the middle, you have this kind of volcanic eastern side, and then you have the more kind of mixed side of loam, loess, clays, and limestone on the western side of it. So the hillsides of these basalt volcanic rocks and also limestone, because you'll see there is this kind of reddish area here of limestone too, are found at more altitude. The altitude here enables colder growing conditions. The ripening is slower on the hillsides up here, leading to grapes with lovely full flavor, but also very high acidities. But also in volcanic rocks, you're going to find higher iron content. And iron, the chemical symbol Fe, you find higher amounts of this. Now, this higher amount of iron enables greater photosynthetic capability in the grapes, which enables better ripening. So not only do you get better ripening anyway in this gentle, slow ripening area, you get more from the soil itself because it's volcanic basalt, and then you get higher acidity. So everything is really concentrated in these volcanic areas. Comparing it to areas where you've got a mixture of limestone, clays, loam, and loess, which is all these other areas towards the eastern zone, that's where you're going to find generally lighter, more delicate wines. Still with good acidity, certainly when the limestone is in play, but generally more kind of lighter, less complex Volcanic areas, certainly the Classico zone, Superiore, you will find that the wines are not necessarily really aromatic, but they're very concentrated. They can often have an oiliness and a texture to them. And they often take time before they become really opulent and exotic in the glass. So often need a lot of time to age. Okay, so that really is it. And that might interest you because if you are like me and very fascinated by volcanic soils, typically people look to the obvious locations. And of course, where we have active volcanoes, things like Etna, the Aeolian Islands, things like the Canary Islands and so on. But there are volcanic areas from extinct volcanoes, such as this location, places like northeast Hungary, Tokai, for example, well worth seeking out. So that is the introduction complete. It's not been highlighted, but I will highlight it for you just here. The next one we are doing is the key grape variety on Garganega. Wonderful variety to talk about. That's only going to be available to my subscribers of the e-learning portal. So please do go across to www.winewithjimmy.com to subscribe to that, to see those videos. Once again, any comments, questions, or concerns, please do get in touch. You can comment on this video below. You can click like and subscribe whilst you are down there, please, as well, or utilize the social media you see at the bottom of every slide. That's about it. If you do find yourself in the United Kingdom, then of course come and see me at one of my establishments, potentially for a class, probably for a glass, more likely for a bottle. I've been Jimmy Smith. Ciao for now. Goodbye.